Okay, welcome all to Ollaa's Arts and Culture panel discussion. Today we will be talking about art in its various forms. And as I'm sure we have all experienced firsthand, Oromo art is a source of joy, resilience, freedom of expression for Oromo people, especially in the face of oppression that marks so many other aspects of our lives. For people in Oromia and throughout the diaspora, art brings our communities together. We are joined today by four wonderful panelists who will speak on their experiences in partaking in creative work. Unfortunately, due to the time difference, Gutu Abera will not be joining us today, but we will be working with him in the future, so keep an eye out for that. So to introduce our panelists for today, we'll start with Lami Aga. He is the current president of the Oromo Youth Association of Minnesota. His main art form for self-expression is traditional and modern Oromo cultural dance and choreography. He holds Oromo Zumba classes for teaching people about Oromo dance, fun ways to exercise, and connecting youth in the diaspora community. Thank you, Lami, for joining. Next, we have Yaba Gopana. She is an Oromo visual artist and singer-songwriter born in Minneapolis. She has hosted and performed in OSU Oromo Nights and in several other community events, such as Masjid Anur's Annual Day of Dignity and World Refugee Day in Loring Park. She began writing her own music in 2019 and released her first single called Break My Heart on streaming platforms shortly after. Since the pandemic, she has featured in a Black History Month special on KFAI radio, where she interviewed two community members and through that was inspired to establish a space where Black artists could create comfortably. Thank you, Yaba, for joining. Next, we have Mulcasa Gaga. He is an artist based in Houston, Texas, a 2022 graduate from Rice University. Mulcasa illustrated for the Rice Thresher, Rice's student newspaper. While at Rice, he published his first comic, Our Hero, and also has work displayed outside of Rice's Multicultural Center and inside the Rice Memorial Center Lay Student Center. In 2022, he was selected as the R2, the Rice Review's coveted t-shirt artist, and was also selected to have artwork published in that year's magazine. Thank you also to Mulcasa for joining us today. And last but not least, we have Ayantu Topek, hailing from Toronto. She has been dancing and singing since the age of 3. Oromo music and dance were a significant part of her upbringing, and she cherishes her parents for the endless training on the mic and endless nights dancing, perfecting her skills. She has been fortunate to share the stage with legends like Ali Birra, Kamar, Alemo, Nuho, and many more. She's also trained and choreographed for numerous different events and has garnered over 50,000 follows on her TikTok account highlighting Oromo music. She is also an international representative in the Afrank Aloha Wiso. Lastly, I'll be your host, Ayantu. I am an intern here at Ollaa. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll go ahead and get into our questions. So first off, to get us started, how did you all get into your respective art forms? And we can start with Lami.
Thank you for the introduction. How I got involved. I mean, the easiest answer is just, visually seeing a lot of different things that I didn't know about when I was younger. Um, but dancing was always just something that I grew up around, like especially at weddings. Um, so that was kind of the first place when I was young. Growing up in America and seeing those things, it's very different than the experiences you have at school with friends. So over time, you know, those things continue to catch your eye because it's different, it's unique. And then at some point, you just take a hold of it and make it your own thing. So I'd say, yeah, as a young kid, like seeing it for myself and then getting involved was just my own decision. Um, so I was sort of inspired by my own identity as an Oromo, to learn more about myself.
Nice. And could you elaborate a little bit on how you got started with your Zumba classes and incorporating Oromo
Oh,
dance?
yeah, no, Zumba classes. So it's about that's like about fitness mostly. So I want to give credit to like all the late nights at like, the parties where people are dancing like crazy, sweating like crazy, and everyone's always complaining, "Oh, you guys are sweating too much." So I'm like, okay, well, we are sweating too much. We might as well bring it to the place you're supposed to sweat. So that's kind of what started that movement. Certain songs were dropped that inspired, a group of friends of mine to just follow the movement. And yeah, I just brought it to the gym, and my friends caught on to it, and more people heard about it, and they wanted classes. So I just gave it a shot.
Awesome. Thanks for elaborating on that. Ayantu, if you want to speak on how you got started, I know you said you started really young, but like, what was that experience like for you?
For me, I was kind of brought into it, to be honest. My dad's a singer. My mom danced in the hawiso, so I guess both of them together had mentally told herself if we give birth to a girl or a boy, she has to, be involved in the arts some way somehow. But I started dancing and singing when I was 3. My mom took care of the dancing part and made sure that I learned all the different regions and I had the energy and I wasn't dead on stage. And then my dad would take care of he more focused on like my vocals and whatnot. And yeah, I just basically kind of I was surrounded by it, so it was just automatically a passion of mine that I had. So I just continued it, and I made whatever they gave me, I just elaborated on. So I made it into my own.
Awesome. Milkisa, how did you get started?
So I guess like growing up, I used to go to the library a lot. Our parents would drop us off. It's a place where we could have like stable internet. And you know how remote parents they want you to read and stuff. So I think I was in fourth grade, and I was just in the library walking around, and I got to like the graphic novel section of the library, and um, I saw like a book or like a comic called Naruto, and I was like, I think I've heard of this show before. Maybe I've seen it on TV or something a couple times. And so I just picked it up and I started reading it. And then eventually at school, I don't know if any of you guys had this experience, but we kind of had like this in school currency. Um, so you could like save it up and get things from like the school store or whatever. And I got like uh, a notepad, and what I did was I just started drawing the main character Naruto just over and over and over again. And then I just kept on doing that until I started to draw more and more characters until that just blossomed, I guess, into where I'm at today, where, you know, it became a hobby. It became something I want to do. I got more into comics. I got more into manga. I got more into anime. And so that's just kind of where it started. Just me exploring, the library, and then just happening to stumble upon it. And I don't know what came over me, and maybe want to draw. But that's what happened, and I guess here I am today.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that. Yaba, you can go ahead, join in.
How I got started, it's a little different for the visual art and the singing. Like singing, I've been doing as long as I can remember since I was a little kid. I've always been really interested in music and like, um, yeah, I was like in the orchestra growing up in school and then in the choir, and that's kind of when I started to see that I actually like had a talent in singing. Like my teacher kind of pointed it out, and then I stayed doing that in high school. I was like in like the varsity concert choir and stuff like that, and I feel like that's where I just like learned different techniques for singing, like um technically. But like Ayantu said earlier, I didn't start writing my own original music until 2019. Before then, I was just kind of like performing renditions of other people's music. And then when it comes to like painting, that was kind of more of like me doing an exploration of my like culture and identity, because I like did not grow up with like Oromo culture around me at all. So I was really like inspired by the visuals of it and wanted to just like explore that in art. And yeah.
Nice. Let's see, we can go to our next question. So it looks like for a lot of you, art has been a part of your life for a while, whether that was from the community, your parents, or just, finding your own interest. I'm curious to know what your process is like today when you're working on a project, from that first initial idea to the final product, whether that's a choreographed dance, a song piece, visual art. What does that process look like for you guys? And we can start with Mulcasa this time.
Okay, so the funny thing, I guess, with me is, I guess maybe it's something I need to work on, but I draw a lot, but usually it never ends up like turning into some final products. I have made some things, like I have made a comic, my freshman year of a college, and then this past year I would did like an independent study, which is kind of like a self-led kind of thing where I kind of taught like myself and created a comic at the end of it. But I guess it depends what I'm doing. For comics, at least, I guess the first stage, is like brainstorming, and then like you can come up with like a script of like what happens on each page, who's saying what, what's the setting like, and then you move on to like thumbnail sketches, and then you move on to like pencil sketches, and then you finally like ink it, scan it, edit it, and put it all together. This past year, I recently like I took some painting classes for the first time, and like before this, I guess all my art experience has just been like me drawing, and so like this was like a new thing that I wanted to explore. And I guess with that, uh, so I took beginning painting, and then the next semester I took painting studio, and with that we had like a lot more freedom to kind of paint what we want. And I guess the way my exploration or my process worked with that was, I guess in the beginning, I challenged myself to like draw backgrounds and stuff, paint backgrounds and stuff, and landscapes, because that's not what I usually do. I usually like focus on people and characters. That's what I like to, I guess, draw or paint. And then like I moved on to drawing a person, and then like I moved on to drawing kind of like a scene. So it was like two people, like in a background, and like I felt like that really showed, I guess, my growth, or like showed my process in terms of working through painting and exploring that. Um, so yeah, I guess the same thing with painting. It's kind of similar to comics, where uh, I start off kind of like with a sketch on the canvas, um, and then I paint over that sketch. What else? Yeah, I think that's all I just say on that.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like it's a long process either way, and there's a lot of layering to it. So that makes sense. Yeah, but what is your process like for visual art? And then you can talk about song making as well.
So for visual art, it's really just like I will see something, there will be something visually that like inspires me, and I'll either like take a picture of it, or if it's like a reference photo or whatever, and then I'll like draw it. And then it kind of takes, like, I have a similar issue as Mulcasa with like starting stuff and then like not really completing it fully into a project. Like not necessarily a problem, like it's just not as linear as like one would think. Like I will start it and then like not feel as inspired anymore, and then come back to it, and then eventually it'll be finished. Or like sometimes it'll be like I'm just super inspired to sit down and finish it in like a few hours. that's like visual art. But when it comes to songwriting, it is really messy. Like it's like usually how I have been doing it is like I will get a beat from a producer that I just like kind of I'm feeling, I like it, and then I just listen to it over and over until it like kind of gets stuck in my head, and then I just go about my life, and like the melodies kind of just like come to me, and then I'll like when I sit with the beat again, I'll like be just kind of mumbling like the melody or whatever, and then the words kind of come to me that way, if that makes sense. Like it's not technical at all, it's not like organized, it just kind of happens.
I think that's like very true for a lot of artists, is that it's very not linear. Depending, I guess, depending, like you said, sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. But yeah, Ayantu, what is your experience like?
So for singing, I've never wrote my own songs, so it's always been a matter of memorizing for me, and I do that very easy. Like I'll hear a song, and by the third time I hear it, I have the words down packed. So and it's stuck in my head. So with that, it's just about fixing my vocals. I wish I could write songs, but I have like what I want to sing about in my head, but I've never written my own songs. Um when it comes to the studio, it's just till you perfect it, to be honest, for the singing part. For dancing, I'll be in the shower and I'll hear like a beat that's been going, like a song that I know. And then I'll think of a move. I'll be doing it in my head. And then when I try it, if it works out, then if it might, there's things that you do. Um, you prepare yourself for mentally, and then when you do it physically, it doesn't fit like a puzzle. But then there's certain things where you're just like, oh, I think this might work. So I'm a visual person. No matter what I do or I think about in my head, I have to see it and I have to hear it. Or so for me it was more of acting out on it, to be honest. So if I sing a song and I feel like it isn't me, I won't sing it. But if it when it comes to dancing, there's not a normal beat that can drop that I don't, feel it and get into it and whatnot. But when it's just the discipline, I think. So you have to memorize the beat, know when to switch it up. And keep it spicy. I feel like, we're grown now. So we're growing as, you know, Oromo people. You'll see a specific dance move and be like, oh, but then it fixates with like the modern dances that are going on now. And you're just like, that we originated that, but y'all remix it all you want. So to me, it's just discipline, to be honest.
Thank you for your response, Ayantu.
Mm.
Lummi, you can finish off this question for us.
Um, really quick. So, did you want us to like maybe chime in on other people's answers? Because I was kind of like, dang, I was ready to jump in on some of these answers.
Yeah, for sure. If you have thoughts like
Yeah.
of what other people have said, definitely.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, most of my um process starts similarly to kind of what Ayantu was talking about. She's like the legend level, and then I'm just like trying to get there. You know what I mean? So a lot of it is, you get inspired by something, you want to make it unique, um, and then sometimes you hit a roadblock and you have to just accept it, you know, and then you move on. um and something else I noticed too about my own process is uh like my art is also a reflection of what I'm going through. So if I'm not honest with myself, I can't be honest, through that process, and the art does not come out correctly. And what I mean by that is, sometimes I'll be, listening to songs the first couple times, and dang, this beat is fire, but it's not hitting for a choreography. And then other times you have a song that you don't think people would like, but for you, it's like it's what you needed in that moment exactly, because it's a reflection of who you are in that moment. So for me, I just need to be honest with myself. um I bring that up because actually, when I was in school at the U, my freshman year, I took a class. It was an art therapy class, and I don't know if you guys kind of understand what an art therapy class could really be, but essentially, it just, in common sense wise, you put into your art, and it's a reflection of like your deepest emotions, thoughts, and feelings, and you just practice sending it to like a piece of paper or whatever it was. And this was before I was doing choreography. And I started noticing like through my choreography, it's becoming like therapy. So like to me, I feel like if my art is not therapeutic, it's not what I want it to be. So that's like my process from start to finish. If I can finish something and it feels like it accomplished something for myself, then I feel good about it. And then, sometimes there's roadblocks like, oh, you're preparing for a show or you're preparing for an event, and that's your real deadline. So, kind of what Yeba was talking about, where she's like, there's no real timetable for, the songs to write, they can come and go. Unfortunately, for me, it's like there's a day. So, sometimes the process isn't always perfect, right? But usually, I start thinking about it early enough and I give myself that time, and then that's kind of my objective. So
Could I add something really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I really like what you're saying, Lemmy, about like art therapy. I didn't take a class on it. I just kind of like noticed that it just, I'm just thinking of like in terms of like my song. I actually didn't start writing songs until I went to therapy and like was able to like process like my emotions. I was like like obviously from the title of the song, heartbroken at the
mm,
time.
mm,
And but I was having like really a lot of trouble like expressing like how I felt, and the song kind of turned into like a kind of like reverse psychology type of thing, where it was like me like in the beginning of that relationship kind of like giving permission for that to happen, just because like either way like it would be an experience that I would like learn from, and like yeah, it was just interesting to think that that's like a thing that you can study, like
mm-hmm.
art as therapy. And I feel like art, when your art is therapy to you, it can be that for other people that consume it too.
Well said.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. I feel like this connects to a question about community and art, so we can go there. So, how do you guys try to build community, or how have you, been welcomed into a community through art? And what kind of conversations do you think art allows for? Anyone can start if you have it on the top of your head.
I can go. I feel like my art is literally what brought me into the like Oromo community in at all. And like, because like Ayantu said in the bio, like I started performing at OSU. That's not where I started performing, but that was like one of the biggest performances I had done at that point. And like the first day I released my song, it was actually Oromo Night 2019. And the art was like, I was very removed from the community at the time when I was like painting, but like it was really cool to see people that identified with it too, because I thought it was just very specific to me. I like didn't really conceptualize how many Oromo people there are in Minnesota, and like that have similar stories to me, that like like we're growing up in a predominantly white space, and we're also not like Black American. We have like a very unique like culture and history. So yeah, I feel like that connected me to the community. through my art.
I just want to say, being from the Toronto community, I felt very welcomed to the Minnesota community because of the friendships that I've made. And they're very welcoming. I feel like when your passion and your art is all the same, it's in the same field. I feel like you just, first of all, you're automatically a family because you're Oromo. But shout out to Maggie, shout out to Lemmy. They, they when you meet people that have the same drive and the same passion for something that you do to execute something, it just feels like um you're untouchable, to be honest. I did multiple performances with Oya Minnesota, but I love me's here, so I'll specify on this one. But there was a performance that I did one day with them, and it was, what was it, let me, I think Oromo night. It was Oromo night, right?
Yeah, 2019.
2019.
2019.
And it
Yeah.
was, I learned the routine the same day, and we performed the same day. And I think I made maybe two mistakes, and Lemmy's like, you got this, you got this. And I was like, if
I
it
think you were
wasn't,
pretending. You were pretending to be
no, wallahi,
stressed
I
out.
wasn't. Wallahi, I wasn't. Oh my God, no. But I feel like if we didn't have that openness in our community where we're very caring and loving towards one another and respecting each other's art, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't fit like a glove the way that it did. So that's just an example of two cities coming together with the same movement, same passion, same love for your people, that you have, that you want to make sure that those phones are going to be out, that people are going to be recording, so you don't want to make a mistake. But um we're from two different sides of the border, but we dealt with each other like we were living in the same city. So I feel like it's a welcoming thing, to be honest. And shout out the Minnesota community. The little me is in the building.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in after that just because my name got dropped, and clearly that's like that's like a perfect example if you think about it, right? Because I did not know who Ayantu was before that day.
Well, you learned today.
Exactly. In that moment, I realized what kind of a person she was, and it said everything about her before we performed, like before any of the dancing even happened, right? And like that's actually one of the reasons why I really wanted to do uh this panel discussion. Is I feel like a lot of times we just jump on a stage or we're behind the pen and no one gets to really understand who we are or what like motivates us or what is inspiring us, and they just see us on a stage. We might be smiling sometimes in public, or we might be talking to a friend here or there, and that's the only thing that people like hear from us ever. And now we're in this like social media age where people get to know us a little bit from what we post, but like having a conversation like this is like, I think it's important to me for sure, and obviously it's important to everyone because you guys like decided to do this too. So like I really appreciate like having these moments specifically just to kind of reflect and think about all the things that it took to get to this point too. So yeah, I feel like I made a point there. I don't know if I made a point there. It
Yeah,
sounded like I did, but maybe I didn't.
You did.
I agree. I really appreciate this like space that like yeah. I agree with you,
Having this
Lami.
platform for us to even
Yeah.
have this
Yeah.
discussion on something that we love to do, and
Mm.
whatever we do, it's for us first, but it's for our community after. So I feel like if I didn't know, let me personally, like before that performance 2019, and he won't forget the year. I forgot the year, but I remember before that it was more of like, oh, that guy from Minnesota that can dance with the curly hair. But now I'm just like, oh, let me, my boy. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
different because you get that interaction. Or I'll see somebody that has mad talent at soccer, and I'm just like, hey, one, you're at Oromo. Two, do I approach them? Do I talk to them? Like, I have people that watch my TikToks and they're just like, aren't you that girl from TikTok? I'm like, actually, Ayantu Topek, but yeah, I'm that girl from TikTok. It's a platform that I feel like we can voice our opinion, especially being in the age group that we're in now, we're able to voice our opinion more, but I feel like we have different ways of doing it. So if you don't see it, you hear it. If you don't hear it, you get to listen to it. Like, it's people like you guys that give us this opportunity to elaborate more on what we have a passion to do, whether it's drawing or visual arts and anything. I feel like you guys are saying, take whatever talent you guys have and elaborate on it. Here's the platform. So I thank you guys for that.
Yeah, this is like a new like experience for me being like I mean, I grew up in Minnesota and you know, being surrounded by Oromos. But like moving out of state for college and being in a place like Houston where like I literally met my first like Oromos like this past summer. Like, you know, like there's some kids in my school maybe that's like half Oromo or something like that. But it was like my first time meeting like an Oromo family like this past summer. And so like I wouldn't like so I haven't really had the chance to like I guess when it comes specifically to like expressing my art or sharing my art with like a predominantly like Oromo community like you guys have with like OSU and stuff like that, I haven't like had that chance. And I think that like college and especially like if like going to college in Minnesota where there is that like large Oromo base and then having that student union at the U of M, like I feel like as an Oromo youth growing up, that would have been very like formative. And I'm able to see that with like my friends that I keep up with, uh, like through social media and stuff, and like them creating Cankenya and all that stuff. Like I can see the impact growing up and like and going to college and like becoming an adult in that environment has done for them. And so this is a new experience for me. And so like I guess my experience with like community and art has largely been with like, you know, the Black community like at large in general. And I guess like when creating my art, it's not like inherently Oromo or anything. And so I guess just one things that I keep in mind when I do draw and when I do create is that like to always portray Black people, Black stories, or like Black characters, Black people just doing things. Because I especially feel like in the medium that I'm in, like you don't really see that often. Um, and I also like to incorporate like, you know, friends and people I know in my art. And so like for example, in this last painting that I've done, which it isn't finished, but it's like high key like my favorite painting I've ever done. I went on Instagram and I was just asked I asked like if anyone like has any pictures of like you and your friends like doing something casual or just hanging out, like some like real setting, you know, something real, like, you know, everyday slice of life kind of stuff. And like one of my friends, she hit me up and they gave me, you know, a picture of like our friends and they were like dancing and having a good time like in their apartment or like in their house. And it was just like it was cool that like I was able to like have my friends come in and like help me and provide me with like reference photos and stuff like that. And then also like, you know, just uh you know, just drawing that kind of like casual, kind of like carefree setting, you know, just depicting, you know, Black people just having a good time. Um, and so, yeah, uh, again, like what other people said, thank you. Like this, like having this space for like, you know, Oromo people to like come in and talk about that stuff. Like this is all cool and it's all new to me, and I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, we definitely appreciate you guys being so responsive and into also just having this conversation. So all of this is really great, I think, for everyone watching and for me as well putting this on and everyone else who has helped out. Similarly to community, so we can see that community motivates art. But what else motivates you guys to do your work, and what kind of inspiration do you guys pull from? Ayantu, you can start.
So inspiration for me is honestly when it comes to singing, like I've been singing since I was young, but I have a passion of singing R&B and whatnot. But I feel like it all stemmed from my dad, like being a singer and having so much singers in the family. And dominantly it's like my dad's side of the family that sings. So it's like he made sure that it was a passion for him, so it was a passion for me. So shout out my dad for giving me everything that I use right now towards my passion. But when it comes to inspiration, it's honestly the love of my people that have me going, to be honest. I'll hear a new Oromo song, and choreography wise, it's like boom, boom, boom. I see myself doing this, this, and this. Oh my God, it's going to be sick if I do this and incorporate what's going on in the world around us. So if there's like new dances and whatnot, our beats are sick. So it's like for us to be able to jump in and be like, all right, I'm gonna do this, which is a modern dance that's right now, and mix it in with Shagoye or any other region, and you feel like I can incorporate that together. It's like you, I don't know, like I feel like it our being almost so diverse that we have bits and pieces of everything that we could just be like boom, and that blends in with this and whatnot. But when it comes to singing, it's like you got the love songs, you got the songs of struggle, you got um heartbreak songs, and it's more, it hits home for me when it's in Oromo, because I remember growing up as a kid and I'd be singing like songs that I shouldn't be singing at that age, but it's all because of my dad and my mom. And then at my age right now, I have people asking me like, how do you know about that song? And I'm just like, boy, this goes back in my household a long time ago. And then now I know the words to what I was at. I've always spoke it almost like I understood it, but I didn't understand it. So now I feel like that inspirational heartbreak song that I was singing when I was 3 or 4, I should not have been singing. But like now, when I sing it, it's kind of like hits home, and it's in my language, So I just feel like being Oromo is the biggest inspiration that keeps me going. Making my culture and whatever diversity comes with it to be known across the world. Because all my friends know when they hear Shugoye beat, they know where it's from. And they know what to call me. They'll be like, "Oh, that's not a Ethiopian song. That's an Oromo song." I'm like, "Yeah, because what region is it from, guys? Yeah, thank you." So I make it clear and I educate those around me. So I feel like they take a little piece of Oromo with them. So shout out our parents for birthing some bomb ass Oromo kids.
Dang.
Don't let me say something.
Oh, at this point, yeah, no, I agree with everything. Um, and then I just want to highlight one thing Ayantu said because it stuck out. It's the word blend. So I just started picturing like a canvas where someone's painting and they're blending colors. Um, like you said, right? There might be songs about Gupso and it's one color. Boom, I know what this color is gonna be. And then actually it's a love song. Okay, let's blend the colors together and create something. So like for me, I was a dancer first and I didn't really understand what that meant. To me, it's all the same in my head, you know. So what inspires me to dance? It's fun. I'm gonna just keep it real, right? But until you start understanding it, kind of like what Ayantu was getting at, right? You start piecing the things together. You can get more like granular with every word, every intentional beat, and then you start figuring out I like this more than this, and that's what like switches in your brain and inspires you to become a choreographer. For me, at least, right? So why did you choose that song over this song? Well, I can blend it better. Or I felt like I wanted this to happen. I wanted to go from this high energy low or from low to high. Or I wanted people to notice this part. Why'd you use these lyrics? Oh, this is important to me. This is a representation of who I am. And I want people to know that with the choreography. And once you like understand it and you finally feel comfortable doing it, because at the end of the day, like people are going to learn more about you through your art. And I feel like if someone's able to understand you through your art, that is the ultimate source of like inspiration. like someone could see you without you even saying a word. So to me, that's the most inspiring thing. Like being a dancer, yes, that is ultimate fun. But once you like go to that choreographer, the art creator portion of dancing,
It tells a story.
tells a story. I promise you, that is the most like gratifying thing that I've been through. And I started dancing, I don't know, like with intention and on a stage in 2016, 2017.
Really?
So let me just put that out there right now.
You learn something new every day. Okay.
Let me put that out there right now. And then the year after, I was like, let me just try choreography or teaching. So 2018, I put it helped put a show together, and then year after year after year, refining it, figuring things out, getting inspired from the political sphere, getting inspired from my personal situations, getting inspired from the community struggles we've been through the last couple of years, getting inspired by traumatic moments, like you can pull something from everything. And that's the beauty of art. You're able to take something and turn it into something else and feel like I've processed it and I've moved on from it and move forward with like a better version of the story. And it's very freeing. I'm gonna just say that it's very freeing because I started thinking about the people like in other countries, maybe even back home. They've been restricted to even speak their own language. They don't have access to the music we have all the time. So a part of them is always held within like closed doors,
They
and
can't perform the
they
way that
can't
we free.
perform. Like these are like the things that when you start realizing we take for granted here, it's very freeing to understand it from a different perspective. So for me, that's how I see it.
I just want to add on to something that Lemmy said. Um, us being choreographers, when we're in the same field, I have a vision, he has a vision. And with choreography, like I said, it tells a story. When you're singing, you're telling the story. Like, there's certain songs that I listen to, and it's like bits and pieces of songs. I have friends that I'll listen to a song, and I'm like screaming the words while I'm singing, but like to the top of my lungs, and they're like, oh damn, I did not know that's what they were saying. And I'm like, because you're not paying attention. Like me, I've it's drilled in me to like listen to the words, and which, like, if I'm putting up a snap, I'm putting up that specific part that I want you to hear or that I want you to understand. But when you're dancing, it's like, for example, if you're doing a upso song, you'll put down the part where the audience is going, ah, like I felt that, you know. And when you're dancing to it, you're either acting it out, or you're hitting those notes or making that one dance move very specific to them, so that there's a performance that Oya did during soccer. And I remember I said, let me send me this video, please. Because do you remember which one I'm talking about? And it literally was like the way you guys executed that was so sick. But I don't even need to understand Oromo to know what you guys were doing. Like you, when you're performing, you're telling the story. When you're singing, you're telling a story, but how the person takes it in is the way you present it. So I feel like when you're dancing, um, and you hear a specific part of the song, or you hit a note in the song, there's many Hachalu songs that we listen to now, and we're here thinking it's love songs, but he was telling us like this is what it is, and I'm gonna tell it to you in words that you understand if it's not direct. So I feel like um I myself have been singing love songs thinking they're love songs, but our ancestors made it so that they were capsule songs, and it's to send the message. So to me, it's kind of like, okay, pay attention to what you're presenting and how you present it so that the message is sent very clearly.
Thank you guys for elaborating on that. I feel like you touched a lot of great points and a lot of things that people don't think about when they're just watching a choreographed piece. Mulcasa, um, what motivates you, and what do you draw inspiration from?
I guess what inspires me is um, if I see like a cool artist, or like if I'm reading a comic or a manga and I'm like I fall in love with this person's art, then like that will give me like the urge to draw. So like I follow like a lot of artists on Instagram, and then I'm scrolling, I'm like, wow, this is like a really cool piece. This makes me want to draw kind of like in this style, or how did they do this? How did they make that? How does this person draw? And like seeing people's styles, like just how like it might be the same medium, but people like draw in so many different ways, and just certain artists that I see just really inspire me. Um, and like I guess if I'm watching like a really cool like animated clip, like I'll be like, oh, like that's crazy how they do that. Um, so yeah, it'll usually just be like me. I see something, and then I'll get the feeling of like, oh, I want to draw this, or oh, I want to draw just in general. Um, and then I guess like for comics and stuff, you are like really I'm inspired by like other comics I've consumed, other shows I've seen. Um, but like I'm also inspired by like my own life and my experiences, because that's I guess what I know best. And so I'll use that to create stories, which can get really personal, which also on the flip side kind of makes it harder to share. Because I mean, like drawing in general, um, it's just sharing your art is like a kind of big thing, because you're sharing like a part of you. You're being vulnerable to other people when you do this, so it's kind of scary. Um, so it's like, when like this last comic I made for my independent study, only my professor has read it. And I guess partly that's due to me not, creating a cover and a title for it. But the story is all there. The meat of the story is all there. But it was like really personal, and like it was what I was feeling at the time, and I didn't know how to really handle those emotions or those experiences. Um, So yeah, but like yeah, so just seeing other artists, other manga artists, um, and then like my own life experiences is what inspires me. Um, yeah.
No, I like that point about vulnerability. And I remember Milkesa, there was a time where I think it was before, because I've known Milkesa for a long time. Um, it was I think before you went to Rice, and I think you were thinking about doing art, but you weren't sure like if it was the right thing to do. I don't know if you remember that conversation.
I don't know if I don't think I remember this, but there is one of the questions that y'all sent that kind of touched on this, like art in the like Oromo community, and like whether it's like frowned upon or not. And I got a lot to say about that, but I'll save that. I'll save that for that question.
I mean, we could jump into it right now.
Yeah, you can start talking about that now if you want to.
Okay. So yeah, I guess we all. I mean, we all know that kind of like, especially like coming from an immigrant, household. It's either doctor, lawyer, engineer, or failure. So um, like art isn't really something that was like. It was. I mean, just it was never like something that was like encouraged or like pushed, or by like my family and by my parents. It was all like something self led, I guess. It was all me going to the library and then checking out 12 manga volumes at one time, and going home and then reading them all, and then like just drawing and stuff like that. Um, and I guess just like as I've grown older, and been able to reflect on like my experiences like as a kid, and then now even, I feel like I really would have appreciated that like encouragement, or saying like, hey, like, oh, if this is something that you want to do, like, you should go out and do it, and not like be worried about, oh, is this degree gonna get you a job, and stuff like that. And like I understand, like I can understand where like parents worries and stuff go for their kids, because they just want them to be successful. They want them to be fine. They want them to be healthy. I mean, they did a lot of like work for us to like be able to live, or like we have a better experience than they did growing up. But at the same time, I feel like um, maybe if I had that kind of like confidence, or like encouragement coming from like your parents, because as a kid, like whether you like realize it or not, like the words that like others, or especially like your parents, have on you is a lot. And then um and it can and it means a lot to you, and you really take into account maybe more than your parents realize. um and growing up, I kind of feel like I grew into the kind of like that people pleaser type of person, and not really acknowledging like my own desires fully. And even like coming to college, like I feel like if I had a chance to like do it over again, I feel like I would have like um, majored in like visual art. It's crazy because like I remember freshman year, or I think sophomore year, when I like declared my major, like I called my dad and I was like, "Hey, I figured out my major," because it was something that I was really exploring, my first year and then into my second year. And he goes, I asked him to guess, and then he's like, "Oh, is it art?" And I was just like, really, really, like that's what we're doing now. Like, where was like, I don't know, maybe it's like a flip that happens when you get older or your parents get older, but it's like this was something that was like never, even to this day, I won't say like, yeah, they're more like my dad's more open to it, or like I'll show him like my sketches and stuff like that. And he'll compliment me on my art, but like it was never like encouraged, or like whenever they'd see me drawing, they'd be like, "Oh no, you could be reading instead." Um,
I feel like it's when they're giving up, to be honest. That they're just giving in. They're just like, you know what? Just do whatever you want to do.
yeah, and it was just like, it was kind of like a what the f moment, if you know what I mean. It's just like what happened, like my entire childhood,
I'm
Um,
even afraid to like send my mom videos of like the. I'm telling you, she just finds it because other people send it to her. Like that's how it is. I get it. When they start recognizing it, your whole paradigm shifts.
and it's like, my dad will be like, "Oh, you're getting good at this. Your drawings are good." Like, oh, I wonder how that happened.
I have a question for you, okay? So if you
Like,
had the support from before, do you feel like you'd be further in art than you are now?
I think so. And I mean, I won't even say it's like fully support like now. I just say
Oh,
it's more acknowledgement and more open about it.
Mm.
Um, and like, I feel comfortable like, bringing my dad my sketchbook or something. He can look through it and like tell me his comments or whatever. Um, but I definitely feel like, because I feel like a lot of the decisions I made in college, or choosing what to major in, was out of fear and not because of like what I want to do. And so like, especially now, like graduating from college recently and like trying to find a job, I feel like maybe the connections I would have made being in the art department, or like having that degree, um, and those contacts, I feel like I would have been, maybe it would help me like get the jobs that I'm looking for now, and prepare me better for what I want to like actually go into. I mean, it's still possible. I mean, but I do feel like support and like encouraging kids from a young age, and like actually listening to them and taking them seriously, um, would really help with like not only art, but just like self-esteem and stuff like that in the future.
I
There's that. Oh,
that's
sorry
what
to cut you off.
theme, right? No, no, go ahead.
No, I think you're getting to that art therapy point where you're like talking about someone's self esteem. Like I don't know if you noticed that, but
Yeah,
that's
because
huge.
hmm
That's huge for people.
I It's weird for me because my mom and dad are the ones that put me in art. I feel like I was born into it, and I tell them that all the time. But um, I graduated as a social worker in 2018, and specializing with immigrants and refugees. And I feel like I did it for them. Yes, I have a passion in helping people. Yes, I have a passion with the social work field. But I feel like, God forbid, I was to tell my parents I want to go pursue my singing career, I'd be looked at sideways because I think I did like one music video at that time and I was singing. And my parents are like, oh, if you memorize school the way you memorize lyrics, I'm like, but you put me to it. Like, what? And it makes you like kind of second guess yourself. But I feel like if you just have everything hand in hand, you have something to please them, you have something to please you, it just balances more. But when it comes to like I wanted to touch base on something about the self-esteem that Mulcasa was talking about. Um and let me for me it was more of criticism. I feel like I hold back on a lot of art that I do, whether it's singing or dancing, because I just don't want to deal with those that are not part of the art field that have a lot to say about it. So it kind of makes you kind of sit back and be like, do I want to let this, do I want to do a cover, do I want to dance? Like it's always, you'll get the negative and the positive, but it just goes hand in hand. So I feel like once you're fully confident within yourself, anything that you put out, you do it because you gave it your all. And when we're performing on stage, when it comes to me and Lummi, um, I feel like you practice so much that you want to make the moment perfect. And the time that I performed with Lummi and I learned that routine within that day, I asked Lummi, I was like hard on myself, like how can I make those two mistakes? And I still remember to this day which mistakes they were. But
Yeah.
it's kind of like if we didn't have um the same boost that we like can move on from. If he didn't tell me on stage, like, don't worry, Auntie, you got this. And no one knows what's going on stage, but to me and him, we're having a full on conversation.
Mhm.
I'm out of breath. He's there dancing. And I know the mistake. And he kept saying, no one knows the mistake. Just continue. But because we practice and we know how to perfect our art, I feel like you can pick up from that mistake. But when it comes to singing, you mess up the lyrics on stage, you're done. It's kind of like, oh, that's not, how it is, or you forget the words, or something comes up. Like it's like a feeling that you feel. But when your parents see you accomplish or succeed in something, they're kind of like, yeah, that's my child. And I'm just like, keep that same energy when I tell you I want to do it. Like, like you're that I'll perform at weddings and I'll go there and I'm not telling my mom I'm performing. And then you got the hubbles that are there like, oh, your daughter's performing today. And I'm like, God. And then I start performing, and then she's like, see what you do? You come as a guest, you want to perform. Da, 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 da. And then I perform, and I have everybody literally like on the dance floor with me. And she's there. That's my child. Yeah. And I'm just like, where was that energy when I told you I was performing? Like. But when it comes to performing in groups and whatnot, I feel like once you have 110% of that support, I won't put on a show if I know my friends are not going to come to support me. Because if anything, at least your friends are there behind you, giving you that drive, which will bring their friends and they will bring their friends. There's some that come to see you fail and there's some that come to see you succeed. So to you, it's just to put on the best performance that you can and present the best way that you can and just pray for the best.
Wow.
Mummy, did you have any thoughts on that?
Um, yeah, a lot of memories because she was right. I think she was like a perfectionist about what happened like 2019. I think I do remember saying like no one's gonna know you messed up, but that's just something small about that. Um, yeah, I think art is just, yeah, it's you have to be honest. Like I feel like this whole conversation, all of us have been like surprisingly honest, even to the point where we like probably said too much. But like at the same time, like we all get it, like we all understand, like that's what art does to you. It opens yourself up to being vulnerable about what you go through, what you experienced, and yeah, that's inspiring to anyone. um and like when you kind of look back at like what you've done, or you see people like inspired to do more from seeing what you've done, you kind of remember like what inspired you in the first place, and it just motivates you to like take those lessons and go into the real world and like make the most out of everything you do.
I think
And
connections
that's
matter more too,
yeah.
because if we weren't connected the way that we did, the way that we are, I feel like everyone's art speaks for itself, whether it's paintings, drawings, singing, dancing. I feel like whatever idea I bring to the plate, if Lemmy has a better idea and I feel like I want my idea to be, merged into it too, it's just compromising, but it's all to better and for us to have that significant role so that our culture is out there, whether it's in any way. I've seen amazing paintings of Haj Alu and other Oromo paintings that I'm just like, wow, I'd actually want that in my place. I don't paint, but I give it up to the people that I can. And when it comes to the dancing and the singing, I was dedicated. I would fly out to watch Oya's performances in Minnesota. I feel like that's where a lot of my friendships were made. But I feel like I get looked at sideways, like you're coming all the way from Toronto just to watch a performance, and I'm just like, oh, if only you knew. I
If
don't want to be that person that sits there and is scrolling, and they're just like, oh, the performance is so good. I seen it online. No, I seen that live and direct. I seen that hair whipping. I seen that. Like, I want to be there in the moment so that I can say. And I've been doing it for a while, so to me, it's kind of like, if you're not there for your people, who are you going to show out for? But when it comes to displaying it, like Lemmy said, being a perfectionist is, to me, it's key. And whatever ideas we have, if we bounce it off of each other, it's only going to help us grow, and it's only going to better us on a different platform as opposed to staying stuck and where we are. So if there's a way that we can showcase everyone's talent in one place, I wish it could be done. Maybe you guys should host an awards night or a show, like, that not just the singing, the dancing, and the arts, but
taking notes
everything.
right here. I'm taking notes.
Stop. Let me. We gotta talk. We have to plan something soon. I told you I'm not giving up on you. But shout
We
out to
will.
everyone and the talents that they have. I just feel like everyone brings something to the table, and whatever they bring, it only elevates us. There's no going down from here.
That's facts.
I think that was a beautiful way to conclude our conversation. So thank you, Ayantu. And thank you all for joining us. I know we lost Yava in between there, but I hope she's good. And we have all of your socials tagged in our post. So everybody follow these wonderful people, support them, support their art. And yeah, that concludes our conversation. But before we go, are there any final thoughts that you guys want to share or chime before we go?
Um, just thank you. Yeah, I think we talked about it earlier.
You're
Just what
right.
it, yeah, what it means. It just means a lot to kind of talk about this stuff and get those ideas out there. Yeah, it's a good thing.
Shout out Nadia for handpicking me. I've never talked on a panel before, so I feel like this is cool. I've watched them, but I've never been part of it. So to be part of it is a good thing.
How was it? How was it? It was good, right?
It was good. It was good. I was scared at first, but I did it.
Thank you for this space, um, and for us to share like our experiences. And if anyone's watching and they want to pursue art, I just want to say trust yourself. Keep going. Stay consistent. Um, and yeah, just do you.
Awesome. Thank you guys again. I think maybe we could have like a series either through Ollaa or somewhere else because I know there's a lot of questions that we didn't get to. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining.
No problem. Thank you.